Welcome back, everybody, to the Renaissance Humanism podcast. This will be my final episode for this week. I'm your host, Jonathan Riley. In today's episode, I'll be talking about men being left behind. Again, I want to reiterate in regard to this content, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that it's women's responsibility to lift up men, nor am I saying that they should put down men, nor am I saying that women are obligated to sleep with men. I just want to be clear on that, just because with this kind of content, I'm trying to get more into the social aspect of stuff as well as my geopolitics. Try to keep things mixed up. I just want to be clear that not a red pillar. Okay, let's get the show on the road. The sexual revolution and the silicon revolution have left men behind due to the old manufacturing jobs in the Middle America and old coal mining communities in the United States moving to foreign nations thanks to the hyper specialization which helped to create cheap goods and services. This is a massive success story that people don't talk about because it took over decades of rapid economic growth in China, which helped lift 784.5 million people out of extreme poverty, dropping the country's poverty rate by 66.3% to just 0.3% today. Among the world's 15 most populous countries, China has been seeing the greatest drop in poverty rates. The level of absolute poverty declined globally since the end of the Second World War. There was a gradual decline in global extreme poverty, those living below $2.15 per household. In 2017, from 1950 to 1997, global poverty has declined by 20% over 40 years. However, this came at a price at manufacturing blue-collar jobs that men typically dominated. These are in Western industrialized nations. Still, those jobs have now gone abroad, leaving those kinds of men without work or purpose, which means society has left those men behind. It is not the duty of women to raise men up, merely that society has left these men behind and has not made a place for them who are not suited for these jobs that require a lot of mental work and sitting still in a place for hours. I remember speaking to a man working in Morrison's who told me he spent £1,000 on new computer software for his PC. From this experience, it very much took me back of how much passion, how much drive, as well as how much his own personal finance goes into gaming. This event it really sticks with me. I think of this young man from time to time. I say young man, he was probably older than me. Uh, that he doesn't have motivation to succeed or to build a prosperous future, not just for themselves, but also for the community and families around them, due to society telling them that they're not good enough. For women, it may be frightening how much male motivation is driven by the desire for sexual intercourse and desire to have female affection. With the growing use of pornography, the male sex drive is being used inappropriately and in an unhealthy manner because men are not having sex and instead using pornography to fill their natural needs rather than becoming worthy of female attention, not just for the good of society as a whole. There's a growing number of young men becoming addicted to pornography or suffering the effects of erectile dysfunction. That means they can't get it up. This is because male sex drive is triggered through the use of images. If a man sees too many sexual images when he finally interacts with a woman, he will not be able to maintain an erection. There's two reasons for this. One is the sheer volume of pornographic images has affected his sexual senses because due to he's been desensitized to sexual scenes, this can't live up to the actual real thing as well in the imagination because men become desensitized to women's natural flaws and beauty in real life. The second reason is that to have self pleasure for a man, he doesn't need to have a full erection, and his body becomes used to ejaculation without being hard. Also, this is very bad for the woman because when sex with a man, he will not, he will expect her to act like a all star due to growing up seeing these kinds of sexual images and pornography on websites that don't reflect reality. And what we need to make clear is that those kinds of websites and pornography are studio productions. People are not actually having sex. Well, they're having sex, but They're doing it to get the right camera angles. So that's when we see people from the angles, the way they're sitting as well, the way they're moving, the way they're not touching each other, they're making room for cameras to actually fit in there as well. This is why when young people have sex now in these days, they're having sex like porn stars because that's what they've seen. They haven't seen a healthy relationship when in reality they're actually more close together. They'd be a lot slower, they'd be a lot more gentler, or maybe a bit rougher at certain places as well. But it's not pornography doesn't represent reality. Uh, Next part of this podcast, I'm going to talk about the content buyer. The podcast host turned writer and authors Constantine Kissin and Chris Williams. Both one Kissin is the Oath of the Trigonometry podcast, and Chris Williamson is the host of the Modern Wisdom podcast. They came up with the idea of the content diet, how it negatively impacts men and women in the dating world and our day-to-day lives because we're constantly being fed narratives what our lives could be. This is grossly unhealthy and incredibly dangerous for society, and legislation limiting who can use these devices will be entering uh, in parliamentary buildings and Congress most likely within the next few years, just because we gain more and more information how it negatively impacts young people and adults as well. They might have some kind of a system where you have to be the age of 18, 19, or 21 in order to actually use social media. Human beings, the way we see the world and perceive the world is not always based on reality as well, it's through perception. If we see the Kardashians, pornography, and negative dating and marriage experiences online, we immediately think that it's true and based in reality. But the way online algorithms work is that it feeds human beings negative impulses, and that we respond to better to negative feedback than due to positive. Due to evolutionary reasons that we need to respond to negative events instantaneously. That's why negativity sells and why they use negativity in elections. That's why we remember the bad times more than the good times. Relationships are a great example of this. We remember the end of a relationship, but we forget the good parts of the relationship. And those relationships are then are poisoned due to the memory because we remember the negative, not the positive. Regarding the content diet, we need to focus more on educational pursuits, to have a healthy content diet, to have more fulfilling and positive rather than watching content that degrades both men and women and makes our lives harder and less fulfilling. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Enjoy the end of the week and your weekend. Please take care. Peace out.